So like everybody knows at some deep basic level that getting enough sleep is important. That's been drilled into people from day one, right? And then so they say, okay, I'll do this at night, or I'll do that at night, or I won't drink beer before I go to bed because I see that impacts my sleep. But they don't actually know like some of these other variables that are maybe impacting their sleep that they just think is totally normal because everyone else is doing them. Like scrolling on your phone at night, everybody kind of knows that's bad, but people think it's maybe because of the stimulation from social media or the news. But in reality, it's probably got something to do with the blue light wavelengths. I don't think people are looking for an overcomplicated answer. I think that we don't fully get that there are so many stressors coming at us before we go to bed that we don't actually think are stressors. You know, a stressor, blue light is a stressor. A little bit of caffeine too late in the day is a stressor. When the body's trying to digest its food because it's had its dinner at 9 o'clock and you go to bed at 10 o'clock, the body's either saying, okay, we're going to put all our energy into digestion or we're going to put all our energy into repair from sleep. I think this is the main thing about Holon, is we're trying to think in terms of systems, not reductionism. And like that's a fancy way of saying, rather than thinking about how one single thing can affect one simple variable, you're actually looking at the whole system. You're looking at all the different aspects of the system that can be affecting your sleep. So a lot of sleep products out there are single-use supplements, 1-2 ingredients. We've put something together that's a stack. It's a full protocol. I mean, what's a better word for it? Like a ritual that puts all these synergistic aspects together. So you're covering much more of your bases than you otherwise would if you were to just take a supplement. Step 1 in the sleep stack, I actually have them here. No, I tell a lie. Step 1 in the sleep stack is getting outside first thing, morning light. When your brain and your eyes are able to see morning light, your brain interprets that as, okay, it's time to wake up. It starts to increase cortisol and decrease melatonin. You're setting your circadian rhythm. Everyone's heard of the circadian rhythm now because of Huberman, etc. So that's the first thing. As soon as you wake up, get outside, first thing in the morning, 5, 10, 15 minutes. And you're sort of trying to do that 2 or 3 times a day, at different times of the day. So midday, you go outside, you look in the direction, though not directly at the sun, and then you do the same thing at sunset. And what that does, it calibrates your brain to what time of day it is. And that's really hard to do in modern culture because we get up, we go straight to work, the first light we get is from our screens. And then when we go home, we're still getting that same consistent light. And so the brain is getting the signals of, okay, I've evolved to know what time of day it is by the amount of light I'm getting, and then know what time at night it is by the reduction in light. We've totally flipped that because we're constantly getting bombarded with single blue length wavelengths. It's very confusing for the brain. And so the first part of the stack is get outside first thing in the morning, 5 to 15 minutes, look in the direction of the sun to set your circadian rhythm. Decreases your melatonin, increases your cortisol. The body, the brain, they know it's daytime. So I got my morning light about half an hour ago. I woke up to an alarm, not the nicest sounding alarm, which I always have thought I need to change, but I've not changed it yet. Oh, that's a nice one. This one.
There you are.
That's what I mean. But see, there's much nicer ones. That's quite nice. Just haven't bloody changed it. Anyway, you happy?
What do you use?
That shite one.
What do you do again?
Why do you want to hear it again? This one. Yeah, there's a little lane just around the corner. I take out my little glass of warm water first thing in the morning. The sun just, at this time of year, just comes right through the 2 buildings on the other side. And I just stand there looking at the sun for 10, 15 minutes every morning. And once you get into the habit, it gets super consistent. It's just like it's a trigger. As soon as I wake up, I go outside. As soon as I wake up, I go outside. Whether it's cloudy, rainy, sunny, it doesn't matter. When it's cloudy, you need to spend a little bit more time because the sun has to obviously penetrate through the grey. But that's really the basis of this. All the circadian science is showing that one of the easiest, cheapest, I mean it's free, things to do to set your circadian rhythm, get outside first thing, morning sunlight. The whole thing is don't spike your cortisol unnecessarily, so only have your caffeine within 60 to 90 minutes of waking up. I'm pretty religious about that, not because I read anything about it, but because I just don't feel as good. I feel like I crash early if I have a coffee too early. So I always like to have something in my stomach before drinking my coffee, and I have my last coffee around 12 o'clock, just before lunch. If I have coffee too late in the day, like after 2 or 3, it definitely impacts sleep. I think that's pretty obvious. The half-life of caffeine, I'm not actually sure, is it like 6 hours? 9 hours?
You're asking me?
I'm asking you, but I don't know. It's something like that. I mean, the why is pretty simple. I was really sick for 3 years pretty severely, and then before that, 9 years of symptoms that I had no way of explaining, and I went to doctors' offices and more specialists than you can imagine, and nobody gave me an answer. Western medicine just wasn't able to help, or standard medicine wasn't able to help, and so I started going down a functional medicine path in America. And sure enough, like, this was pretty commonplace in functional medicine. Like, oh, you have, a toxicity issue, you have a nervous system dysregulation issue, you have a light issue, and within a few months, having suffered for years, like, I was back on my way to feeling good again. And grew up in Glasgow, and I was like, this stuff should really be available for everyday people in the UK, and it's not. It's just like isolated in America. And so I just thought, why not bring this stuff home? And that's where we are. Opened Hold On a year ago, launching our products next month, and it feels good. It feels good to be able to, do something about all the knowledge that I learned on myself and be able to disseminate it into something that's useful. Well, one of the reasons for doing a study was for two reasons. Number one, validate that this protocol actually works for ourselves, to know that we're actually selling a stack that is effective. And then number two, I think part of the noise out there with a lot of supplements is people don't actually know what's legit, what works, what doesn't work. And so we thought, let's put together, rather than speculating or hypothesizing, why don't we actually just test it? And so I think Hold On's, one of our slogans is, one of our messages is healing grounded in science. And we want to make sure, this is the issue in the wellness world, there's a lot of like really, really mad claims about things, and this is why lots of people are skeptical for good reason, that there's a lot of snake oil out there, and that these things aren't scientifically based or scientifically backed or verified. And so any product that we launch, or any system that we launch, we want to have some evidence if it is a novel synergy. We want to have some evidence to show either that it works or it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, we won't launch it. I think all new habits are hard. I think one of the main issues with trying to sleep well, and one of the principles behind the sleep box that we're about to launch, is it's not as easy as just taking a pill that makes you sleep better and then you go to sleep. There are going to be pills in the sleep box, there are supplements, and there's a tea, and there's other things that you can use and practically, but it also requires some behavior change, and behavior change is hard. If you're stuck in a habit, like I'm the worst at this, you're stuck in a habit, it's a very hard thing to change. And so if you're doing things like morning light, or you're not eating 3 hours before bed, or you're dropping caffeine after lunch, that kind of thing, these habits do take time to form. And so I think one of the main barriers to entry for people really transforming their sleep, and to be honest, health, is it does require behavior change, and that's hard in a world where you're constantly being, bombarded with, buy this, stay up this, go to this event. If people, it sort of maybe requires a little bit of a mindset shift. When we think about health and sleep and things like that, people love this idea, if I take this thing once, it's super easy, super accessible, that's me done. What we're trying to promote is a more holistic way of thinking of, okay, yeah, maybe you can do some of these things, but you also have to complement it with some level of intervention that does require a little bit more effort, at least initially, until it becomes a habit. That's your light, that's your blue light blocking glasses, that's your meal times, that's your caffeine intake. And then if you build those up over, a full system, then the system is the thing that's going to really move the needle, not just a single pill. So today we're putting together an interview with one of our guides, Elliot, and he's really just going to be asking me certain questions about Hold On that a lot of people tend to ask, about health in general. And so it's a bit of an experiment to see what it would be like for Hold On to have its own little information series. the common denominator amongst almost, well, quite a disproportionate amount of people who come in here are people who struggle with sleep. And so we started with a sleep protocol, and we thought, okay, there's lots of sleep products on the market. And most of them are just supplements. They're saying, okay, if you take this magnesium supplement, we'll help you sleep better. And what we saw was, okay, well, but that supplement is only one small piece of the puzzle. You know, it's not controlling for light, it's not controlling for neurogenesis, it's not controlling for glymphatic drainage, which is the brain detox thing that happens, or mechanism that happens when you sleep. And so we thought, what if you actually stacked all these things together into a single protocol? What sort of outcome would that have for people? And so we're validating it with a study, and we're really trying to establish this whole-on approach, which is you can't just think about things in parts. You've got to think about them as a whole. Because the body isn't just the sum of its parts. The body is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's our thesis here with Whole-On. It's you can't just do one thing. Everything affects everything. And so if you know that different variables are affecting different parts of the system, you should try to approach each variable to give yourself the best outcome for your health, and in this case for your sleep.